So you're thinking about buying a Sony APS-C camera and you're wondering if you should spend the extra $100 on the kit lens, or maybe you're thinking, I can't afford any other lenses, so I definitely need to get the kit lens. So can you use it? Of course, I'm using it right now. It's filming my gorgeous face. But should you use it? The answer is maybe. So obviously I did buy the kit lens with my Sony ZV-E10, but part of that is because I'm a YouTuber, fancy YouTuber now. So I wanted to compare this lens to other lenses, and I also knew when I was doing instructional videos that other people would be working with the kit lens, so it would be a good thing to have. But to my surprise, this kit lens has been pretty useful. The first thing it's going to tell you is what focal lengths you really like. I think the kit lens is very useful for that because I find when it comes to vlogging, I am often using the 16mm because I want it as wide as I can. But when I'm out doing street vlogs or street photography, I am closer to the 30mm length because I kind of like that nifty 50 look of full frame, and the equivalent of the 30 would be about a 45 on an APS-C, so I find I use that focal length a lot. It informed me as to what lenses I should invest in the future, and it also has come in very handy as a backup because it's a tiny little lens, so I just throw it in with my other gear. And there are times when I think, oh, I'll only need the 16mm, so I'll take out my Sigma 16f 1.4, which is my favorite lens for the APS-C. But then I notice, no, it doesn't have enough reach. I need a tighter shot. I got my trusty backup. I got my little kit lens in the bag. And so even if you had this focal range covered with something more like the Sigma 18 to 50 2.8, which is a wonderful lens, and I've reviewed it up here. That is a great lens, but let's say you have that and something happens to the lens and you can't use it at the moment and you have to get that shot, or you get a second APS-C body and you need two angles. Now your fancy lens is on one camera, what about the other? There are so many times that I've ended up using this lens that I didn't expect, that to me that alone was worth the $100. But if you're somebody with a tight budget and you're thinking, well, the only reason I'm not upgrading my kit lens is because I can't afford to, rest assured you can get good footage out of this camera and this lens combo. And one of the first things I would say is look for depth behind you. You see right here, I'm in this lovely alleyway about to get stabbed, and the closer I get to the camera, I'm looking over at my little LCD screen, the closer I get to the camera, the blurrier things get. So when you put objects close to the camera and you have a background that's far away, you can still get a nice shallow depth of field. And you can do the same thing when you're at the long end. Now you see that? I took a couple of steps back, I zoomed in, and now those people going by there are bokeh, or as camera conspiracies would say, they're tone. You know, they're just drifting off into the bokeh land. And that is one of the ways that you can still get some nice shallow depth of field on a kit lens. But one of the ways that I think this lens really excels is when it comes to vlogging. Let's go for a little walk. See, the problem with the kit lens often is the amount of light. When you're in the studio, you need pretty bright lights. And when you're outside, even a day like today, you see is very overcast today. So I am at a 3.5, which is as low as the kit lens will go. And I wanted to use Catalyst Browse, and Catalyst Browse doesn't do well with motion blur, so I had to put my shutter speed up to 1/200, which means I had to bump my ISO to ISO 500. So in a nutshell, this is less clean than I could get if I had a lens with a lower f-stop. But to say that you can't get good footage out of this lens is ridiculous. Like, look at this. I mean, try to ignore the fact that you have a good subject to look at and just see the nice background. And you see there is a separation. There is some background blur here at the 3.5, and the 16mm is wide enough to vlog, in my opinion. So I'll take you out to this picturesque park where they're doing just tons and tons of construction. They're ruining my kids' park for 5 years. They have to do construction for 5 years for some reason. Oh, good city planning. But this is a very versatile focal range. The 16 to 50 is really like a 24 to 75 in full frame terms, and that is a focal length that a lot of people do like to use, and it gives you a nice bit of reach. Here, I'll give you a couple of examples of photos. Very versatile lens. Like, let's say I was trying to film a murder. It's like, oh, like there's a murderer over there. I get a close-up on that murderer's face. Ah, we got him. We got him, Steve. Ah, Steve, the murderer. Don't try to get away from my versatile lens. You see, in truth, right now, this is the best lens I can actually think of in this situation because it is so tiny, it is so light, and I'm able to carry it around for a long period of time. I am out and my scenery is a park. I don't need a ridiculously shallow depth of field and blur everything out. You just have to know how to use your kit lens to get great footage. If you're going to stand up against a wall right behind you, you're not going to get any kind of depth of field. The wall is going to be in focus, you're going to be in focus. But if you stand far enough away from the things in the back, then they'll be blurry. I'm just wondering how much wind is affecting, oh boy. If this wind muff is competing with this wind, it's the greatest wind muff in the world. And that's another thing, I'm just using a little wireless microphone. This is such a nice, light, convenient setup. I barely even noticed that guy who had just come down the stairs to stare at me, wondering what the hell I am doing here. But that's the thing, is you don't notice this camera that much with the tiny lens and the tiny camera. So anyway, what I'm saying is you just got to find ways to make your footage look as good as possible with the things that you have. So don't go expecting to get A7S III results with a 1.4 G Master lens, because you can put that in your living room and it can blur out the background and look okay, but you can't do that with a kit lens. So just find good ways to get good footage. So what I'm saying is daylight is your friend. If you want to use this lens when you're inside, and I would suggest that you sit in front of a window and let the daylight, more construction. This is Toronto. The entire place is being ripped up. Sit in front of a window and that will give you what I think is your best chance to get the best use out of this lens. To me, this is a very fantastic vlogging lens and travel lens because of that 16mm focal length and the tininess of the lens. And also too, I was using catalyst brows, and if you have a Sony APS-C camera that does not have catalyst brows, then you will be very happy to know that this kit lens has optical steady shot. So the optical steady shot is stabilization in the lens, and while not the greatest stabilization in the world, it is still better than having no stabilization. So if you are out filming things handheld, that optical stabilization is going to do you well. So there you go. It's really up to you if the kit lens is worth it or not. I have had some people ask me, should I just forego the kit lens because I'm going to buy this lens and this lens and this lens? And I said, in that case, yeah, you don't necessarily need the kit lens. All of your focal ranges are covered, and if you don't need a spare backup, save that $100, maybe get an extra battery or two or a little light for your camera bag, because lights, as I say in this video, makes all the difference. But if you are someone who does need to use the kit lens, then remember the things that I said in this video, and you will be able to get fantastic looking footage coming out of your little Sony APS-C camera. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Okay, bye-bye.